My name is Katrina Cobb. I am a co-founder of the Small Business School and Small Business School Challenge, and we are very excited to get to hear from our small business participants about their journey and their experience and what's coming next. So I'm very, very grateful to have Shri with us today. And Shri, tell us a little bit about who you are in your business, where you're located, and then we'll talk a little bit more and get to know you.
Hi, Katrina. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am Shri and I live in El Cerrito, California, where I also have our not-for-profit, which is the Association for Sustainability Education. And what we do is we impact environmental innovation by training students beginning in third grade all the way up until middle school and soon high school on problems that are there that can be fixed through innovation and advocacy in terms of creating innovation. And that's what we do. And I am excited to be here and tell my story about what happened with the Small Business Challenge.
Awesome. I very much appreciate your time, and it's fascinating to hear about somebody who specializes in innovation, because that was sort of the crux of what we were trying to help with this go around. So let's flash back. It's now at time of recording, June 2020, but can we flash back to kind of where you were at the beginning of this year, before the coronavirus, COVID-19, before the shutdowns, before all the occurrences of this extraordinary year affected small businesses?
Totally. So I set up this not-for-profit in December of 2019. I have an entrepreneurship background, and but I felt the lack of innovation in the STEM subjects in schools. I have been in STEM education. I'm a parent myself, and I believe in creating and doing something as opposed to just complaining. So with all enthusiasm, I set up this not-for-profit, got my pilot set up. The schools were impressed where our pilots were happening, and they were like, okay, next year we want it to expand to the whole school. And we had a verbal agreement. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but things evolved. One fine day, the schools went on lockdown, and I saw that coming, and we pivoted to Zoom, but that was an interim fix, like a band-aid to that big wound. But what was going to happen in the long term was a big question mark. So if kids are not back in school, then how are we going to work, and how are we going to teach them? It's not just operations, it's our impact, it's our mission. Everything is getting affected. So it went from like everything in rainbow and unicorn to like, okay, it's all black and gray and don't know where we are.
Lots of uncertainty. Yeah, it's funny to think about the ramifications of just schools being closed alone. That cuts off a lot of access, resources. You also serve underprivileged kids who may or may not have access to internet and computers and Zoom and these sorts of things. So tell me a little bit more about the feeling in the moment of, yeah, we can pivot, but like there's a lot of other questions and worries.
Yeah, one of the most crucial things with serving students is student privacy and access. And we didn't foresee a Zoom world when we started our program. So making sure they all had laptops. Thankfully, the school district gives them laptops, but they don't come with a camera like how we are talking. So if I'm going to teach them to innovate, and they're all inventing solutions, our students pick a problem and they're inventing. So it was access to supplies to invent, coaching them in a virtual world without sometimes not being able to see them and just use it as an audio tool. Those were all challenges. But every time there was a challenge, what I would tell myself is, I am teaching them innovation. And if I cannot innovate on this, what's the point? So it was more inspiring to innovate at this time and create that impact. And I have to say, the 8th graders that we trained, 4 of them were the 5 winners at the California Invention Convention at the 8th grade levels, and they're going to the National Invention Convention. So my dear students, if you're hearing, or their families or teachers, I am immensely proud of you for doing it at this time.
That is so fantastic. And what a great mindset to adopt of, I'm all about innovation. We teach innovation. I am being forced to innovate right now, from where I thought this beautiful plan was all laid out to now having to completely readapt to this online only remote environment. Very cool. Were you, even in spite of kind of that positive outlook, were there feelings of questioning how this was going to move forward, or what was going to be possible for this when initially everything closed down?
Yes, it wasn't more about this semester or this term. it was more about what's going to happen in the next school year. Are we going to go school wide? And I had some, between January and early March, before the schools went on lockdown, I had these relationship with these students and their families. So for us to pivot to a virtual world was easy. But with the new cohort, I was like, how do you create those relationships? How do you establish programming? How do you give them the same sense of quality in programming when you start in a virtual world? Those questions were there. Besides the whole, the lifeline of this program, like, are we going
Yeah.
to be able to serve them? And is the program happening in the fall? Yes.
Yeah. Lots of questions. Okay, so that was kind of the March and April early adjustment phase. And to your point, you already had relationships with one cohort, but the whole future was sort of in the balance as to how schools are going to operate moving forward, and how to even get access to students and get them resources depending on how all the shutdowns and everything played out. So tell us a little bit more then, moving into the Small Business School Challenge, which was held mid-May, May 14th to 16th. How did you initially hear about the challenge opportunity?
I heard about the COVID accelerator and their Friday coffees, and that I think was my very first coffee. And I heard about the Small Business Challenge, and I wrote to the email address I saw and said, hey, I'm not a small business, but I'm a not-for-profit, but I could so use some brainstorming and some strategy development at this time. And here's what we do. Would you be interested? And there was this red carpet welcome, please apply. And so I applied and was selected. And so thank you so much again. And that was one of the most optimistic and amazing things that happened during this whole lockdown, and helped our COVID pivot. So yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that you stumbled across the opportunity and felt the red carpet rollout to apply. So that's amazing. Now, you've got an entrepreneurial background. Did you have experience working with consultants, business kind of incubators, any of these sort of hackathons or business case competitions in the past?
Yes, I was a part of the NSF I-Core program, and so that was a formal program for a few months. And but I've also had mentors and people that I would consult with. And my previous business was funded by the National Science Foundation, so there were quite a few opportunities through that. Both the formal and the informal mentoring was always there. But this was my very first accelerator of sorts with MBA students, and it was very refreshing.
Fantastic. Did you have a pretty good idea of what it was going to be in that 48 hours, or were you just going in hopeful, optimistic, and waiting to see what happened, would you say?
They were very clear about the structure of the program, but we obviously don't get to meet our teams, which gives us the flavor. So there was that little bit of curiosity. And that suspense was good in a good way, because you need that little bit of excitement. Like, I want to know what it is all about. And I cleared my calendar. I told my friends and family that these next few hours are very important, and I'm not on your clock. And so when I first met my team, I was super excited about the varied background that the three of them brought. And they were from the East Coast, and I had given them my cell phone and told them that I'm at your disposal, 48 hours, call me anytime. And you're working on an accelerated pace, and you will have questions, so you can ping me, call me anytime in the next 48 hours. And it was a beautiful group of students to work with.
Excellent. You said the East Coast. Your team was from Yale, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, fun. All right. So during that 48-hour period, obviously very hectic, a lot to get done. I think you shared your team had a bit of a learning curve because they're not from an educational background. So tell me a little bit about the experience of, on your end, as a business client, of having a team of MBAs dive in, learn about your business, get up to speed, and be able to create innovative solutions for you. How was that for you as a business owner?
It was amazing. I have to tell you, they were not just from a non-education background, but I don't think their K-12 education happened in this country. So they had to experientially imagine what it is to be a student, what it is to be in a program, what is this program all about. So I was floored completely at their learning curve, which was so sharp, but they were like mounting it so easily. And because they were not just understanding it and imagining it, but they were able to foresee it and problem solve for me and think through all the nuances. that was just amazing. And then clearly that's why they're doing their MBA at Yale, and I could see how shrewd they were and diligent they were. So that was very helpful, and I was very impressed at how they treated this as a challenge, as opposed to like, well, this is a not-for-profit, and they didn't slack on anything. They took it as if it is their organization that they had to help and strategize. It was their organization for those 48 hours for sure.
That's fantastic to hear. Now, from you having a background in innovation, I'm curious because we saw that it was actually a benefit to have MBA students that didn't necessarily come from your industry, your business experience, kind of to your point, the K-12 system, because it allowed them to use other ideas to foster creative solutions. Do you see that kind of taking effect with the team that you had?
I did, and being in K-12, I also have a teaching background. So for me to see this diverse group of individuals come and take on a case that they're not familiar with, and have that challenge and have that time pressure, which in a way helps with not having distraction and create focus. I saw how it played at their end, and your infrastructure and the resources I provided, along with their own intrinsic motivation to excel and be diligent, those three factors played really beautifully together.
That's fantastic. What do you, looking back, because it's been a few weeks now since you were part of the challenge, what would you say is the biggest value or biggest idea or innovation that came out of working with your team?
I had decided to pivot from a school-based approach to smaller club-based approach if the schools were going to continue in lockdown mode. That way we have a smaller group of students at each club. And I presented it to them, and it was this team that told me that I could use current undergraduate programs or recent graduates to be club leaders. And I was thinking in a different angle, and they gave me this strategy, and I'm actually picking their strategy because I took their strategy, thought through it thoroughly, and also ran it by some of my advisors and mentors, and I'm loving that strategy as days go by, and so I'm eternally grateful to them for that.
That's fantastic. I'm so glad to hear even just something off the cuff, a different approach has been something that you've now vetted and are committed to do moving ahead. So that's fantastic. Where do you see kind of the future of your nonprofit growing now through the rest of the year, coming off of some of that advice, sifting through all the different ideas, and now looking forward?
In terms of immediate impact, we are creating a summer program in partnership with libraries. And then in the fall, we're going to be having ASC Innovate Clubs, where we will have club leaders who will run small groups of students virtually if needed, or in person if the chance becomes available. And we're going to ship the materials to the kids and continue to innovate and continue to improve their environments and their lives and our environments.
Excellent. So we feel like the nonprofit's back on track. You've got a game plan for the rest of the year, even if some of these measures and restrictions are still in place, huh?
Yes.
Very cool. All right. Where do you think you would be right now in terms of either feeling or planning if you hadn't had the chance to be part of the Small Business School Challenge?
So it is when you're an entrepreneur, despite, someone who's an entrepreneur is choosing to do that because of your creativity and this innate courage. But then when you're in the driver's seat, all of those variables get challenged because you're making decisions that have huge domino effects. And especially at this time with COVID, there is a real big challenge between being realistic and being pessimistic, and you have to be very careful on which side of the line you are actually making decisions. And it was at this time that I was introduced to these three amazing, young, high energetic, optimistic group of people. And it helped me recalibrate everything a little better. It helped me recalibrate my own creativity. It helped me recalibrate my own innate courage and my zeal for life and my optimism in life. And so because when you go to an advisor or a mentor, the problem is what you are going with. So it is the problem first approach. But with an accelerator, it was a challenge first approach. So there is optimism right there. And so I think without this accelerator, this whole pivot in my own head wouldn't have happened, because it was this problem first approach, and now it is a challenge first approach. And that group, or that energetic team, is something that was like this, poof, like a beautiful breeze that blew into my life and said, look at the world differently.
That is probably my favorite quote so far. Look at the world differently. Fantastic, fantastic result. And part of what we always hope happens when we put these disparate groups of people together and crunch them down into a challenge with a deadline, which fosters creativity and all these extra tools and resources, and give them the chance to have some hands-on impact. So that is so, so, so beautiful. Jumping off of that, what is a piece of advice you would give to a fellow business owner or a nonprofit founder or an entrepreneur who might be struggling in the light of the current context and situation?
Keeping in mind that not every business suffers equally. There are some that suffer really bad because this absolutely nothing that could be done because of this lockdown. I know a few businesses that suffer so badly, like someone who's a beautician. But just to remind them that this is just a phase. And if it's possible to think about other means of reaching out. And I am able to relate to that phase at a very small level, because I felt that way. And then I started doing online teaching sessions on Zoom, partnering with other organizations, and it helped improve my own efficacy, or just going for a coffee and on a COVID accelerator and figuring out this is a small business challenge. So to try something that you would otherwise not try, and because you never know what leads to what, and but to tell yourself that this is just a phase and it's not deciding anything in the long term.
This too shall pass, and have the courage to try something new. I love that. Those are two very beautiful nuggets of wisdom there.
Thank you. And I was going to, that's my favorite line to say, this too shall pass. But I was like, okay, I don't know if I should just sound that way today. Yeah, but thank you. That's one of my favorite lines. I tell myself, this too shall pass.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well, Shri, I'm so excited for you to have this amazing experience and to see how you're able to pivot and innovate in your own nonprofit and have a better plan for moving forward the rest of this year and pursuing your passion and the impact you want to have. So if people want to find out more about what you do or how they can get involved or how to support, where should they go?
We are updating our website at this point. So the best place to get started may be on our Facebook page, and you can look up ASE Innovate and reach out to me through that. That would be the best place. Or you can look me up through LinkedIn or ASE Innovate on LinkedIn, and then to me. Both of those would work. But our website is the Association for Sustainability Education.org.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, we'll share those links with this video as well. And Shri, thank you so much for having the courage to participate in something innovative and new. And we're so excited to see how this helps you grow into the future.
Thank you so much. It was a lovely opportunity to be a part of the accelerator. And I wish you guys the very best in creating a not-for-profit. And you're going to help so many businesses, and not just the businesses, the whole ecosystem, their customers, their partners, everybody they are impacting. So thank you so much for that. And this was an amazing opportunity.
So glad to hear it. Excellent. Well, we will catch up with some more fun stories, and you can learn more about what we're doing at the Small Business School Challenge on social media and online. We'll see you there.